Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Fallout Bar here at Online Darts. Myself, Jack Gobigawa, joined by Mr. Cam McFarlane for night 9 of the Premier League. We are at basically the halfway stage now. Somewhere between week 8 and week 9 is halfway. We are at the halfway stage as we headed to Berlin. But how are you, buddy, Cam?
I'm good, mate. How are you? It's good to have you back. I'll be honest. I needed you last week and you weren't here. I was just waffling on my own to everyone last week. You're swanning around Blackpool in Pop World, just having the time of your life.
Right. 2 things to mention here. One, we do apologise for the fact the last 2 weeks have been solo Fallout bars. It's just been a personnel issue within the team. We are looking to expand. We are looking to make sure everybody's involved. And we are looking to keep improving for you guys at home watching. The second thing, Cam, I was not in Pot World last week. I didn't even make it to Pot World last week. We stayed in Walkabout because it was £2.50 for a vodka, and I was in a worse state for it Friday morning. So, deepest apologies. But, however, myself and Boyce had to book our own hotel for the Thursday night, and the internet in it was shocking. Wi-Fi was virtually non-existent. So if we tried this show, it would have ended up like our Dozer interview on Monday last week. It was just like, nah, you just crack on your own.
Yeah, to be fair, you had a little bit of internet, and you did help me out slightly because I had never used the software on my own before. Had no idea what I was doing, and you managed to talk me through it enough to get through 45 minutes on my own. So I do thank you for that, because otherwise it would have been a monumental thing.
Yes. And I thank Neil Duff for not buying shots until after you phoned me, because that was a heavy, heavy night. It didn't end very well, to the point where McDonald's asked me to leave because they were shutting up the building, and I went home early. But less of last week, we're on to this week, and in the fantastic Berlin, we give a lot of crowds a lot of stick. Absence of any German, the German crowds are one of the best up there, and they were sensational tonight.
It looked absolutely unbelievable, didn't it? We're just going to have to go next year. So we need 2 other people next year to do the Fallout, because me and you are going to Berlin and we're going to experience it firsthand.
Or we could do this on 4G from the back of a taxi.
Might be more interesting. Probably a lot more interesting. Maybe not quite broadcastable.
To be fair, though, the last time I went to the Premier League, like 3 weeks ago, I was like, oh my God, Bully's in trouble here. And actually, Chris Dover is 3-0 up. So maybe the back of a taxi is not the best idea.
No, well, no, it won't be broadcastable, but it'd probably be quite interesting.
That'd be funny. Well, we'll put that on the Online Darts podcast after dark at some point.
Should we do like Hollyoaks?
The deeper, darker version. Also,
just me and you.
Anybody under the age of 26 who has absolutely no idea what Hollyoaks is. Getting into a few people in the chat room, by the way. Ed says, hey. HJV says, go, Johnny, go. Spoiler alert, HJV, but we'll let it happen because Clayton's back in the winner's circle. James says, Premier League starting to feel like a televised pro tour. Yes, maybe a little bit. Matthew says, good evening. How are you, buddy? Paddy says the same as well. Matthew says, you did a great job last week, Cam.
Thanks, Matthew. I appreciate that. I've not watched it back. I didn't want to look at it again afterwards. I have no idea what actually happened. I was just in a strange other universe for 45 minutes where I just kept talking. I have no idea what went on.
Been there, done that, got the T-shirt. Bob says, good evening, Gob. I hope he means good evening to Cab as well. Otherwise, you've got some answering to do. Yankee Liver says, Taxi Cab Fallout is a show I'd watch. That's a very dangerous show. At some point, I feel like Online Darts, we're going to have to go down the paid subscriber, which, apologies to everybody watching, but paid subscriber after dark, say what we actually really feel route. And I feel
Only darts.
I feel like our Fallout bars and our live lounge on a Monday night are very, very close to that anyway. But obviously, there are certain things that we either hold back on or can't say anything like that. The issue is that whatever paywall we put it behind, somebody's going to crop it somewhere or clip it somewhere and go, oh my God, did you know this? And then we're still going to look like absolute morons to whoever's giving us whatever information. So maybe a few years' time, it's sort of like, look, I absolutely guarantee you Barry Hearn can tell you some deep, dark secrets about this sport. But until he's 100% removed himself from darts, it's not going to happen.
I'm still not sure he will. We've never seen him do. We've
The
never
best
seen him do it
book
with
ever
boxing yet
written.
either. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
sure we'll actually see it. Like, Barry's a smart man, and he knows that he never completely dips out. Like, as much as he might dip out from being the face of it and the guy running it, he's still always going to have a financial interest. He will never let anything actually come out before he's nothing to do with it. I don't think we'll ever actually see it.
Barry's post-death memoirs, touch wood that isn't in the foreseeable future, are going to be fantastic.
Yeah, if they ever do come out at that point. Yeah, unbelievable. Like, in so many sports, like in darts, in boxing, in snooker, it would be an unbelievable. We all want to see all of that.
You think of the recent history in those three sports, and he's been involved 30 plus years in all three. Like,
and Leighton Orient, to be fair, even dropped football in it. Like, there's probably a few stories from Orient when Matchroom had that as well.
As I'll say to you, as I say to our friend that is a Yorkshire supporter, Division 2.
I mean, they're lower than that. They're in Division 4.
Moving on. Let's actually talk about tonight's action, and we start with Dimitri Vandenberg against Michael Smith. Not the prettiest of battles between the two. However, Michael Smith prevailing in the early encounter in Germany. And in a crowd of that size and as boisterous as they were, and look, without a German crowds are fantastic.
Yeah.
And this isn't a dig at anybody in particular or any region in particular, but the minute that they get a little bit, what's the word?
Well, I know what you mean. When you say without a dig, without any reason in particular, there is a reason. And the reason is that if there is a German, it's very difficult for the other player to hit a double because there is
partisan.
Partisan.
They are very partisan if there is a German player present. And to be fair, they had Martin Schindler there tonight as a guest. However, the absence of a German player playing means that the German crowd just enjoys what's in front of them, and that is when the German crowds are at their very, very best.
Oh, they're unbelievable. They were fantastic on the weekend in the Euro Tour as well. I've literally spent the last week with me and one of my good friends trying to arrange a Euro Tour night. Just off the back of us watching it on Saturday and Sunday and going, we need to go and experience this firsthand. The crowd was unbelievable. There were a couple of moments on the weekend that were a bit questionable in that same regard, but tonight they were absolutely fantastic. And the atmospheres they love the darts, and that is the one thing you can say. Even if they go a little bit too far sometimes, you cannot argue they love their darts, and they are all there. It's not like the Alexandra Palace where it's just a bunch of people on a Christmas do that have no idea what's going on. They are darts fans, and they go a little bit too far sometimes, but they love it, and the atmosphere is unbelievable. And it's the same with Amsterdam for the World Series of Darts finals and the rest of it. Those fans in Europe love their darts, and they turn out in the numbers and really enjoy it and make a proper atmosphere of it. And it was fantastic tonight.
I feel like the best way of describing a German crowd, before we actually do talk about tonight, is that Germany to darts is like China is to snooker.
Yeah. Except without cheating.
Loved it, and gone above and beyond anything else you will see in any other nation up until this point. And the future of that sport, I suppose in snooker it's heavily reliant on China at the moment. In darts, it's not quite to that level, but actually, if they continue to pump the money into the Euro Tour that they do and produce this kind of crowd and environment and atmosphere that they do, and just love the sport the way they do, with the financial,
it's going to become the whole.
Germany has, it is going to become the China of snooker to darts.
I mean, without the cheating.
However, back to this match.
Moving on from all the Chinese players that have been sanctioned in snooker.
None of the Germans are in that situation yet, but let's move on. No yet, even. Not with any malicious.
No, I'm going to say, there is no yet.
A 6-3 winner over Dimitri Vandenberg, 94 average for Bully Boy. Just 87 for Dimitri Vandenberg. This one settled on the outer ring, though. 6 from 16 for Michael Smith, 3 from 13 from Dimitri Vandenberg.
Yeah.
The world champion has struggled to show his form at times in this world championship. But these are the sort of games that he was absolutely coasting through before he lifted the Silverdale Trophy. And these are the sort of games he needs to get back to picking up every single week.
Yeah. This is the Premier League, by the way, not the World Championship. But
no, but up until that World Championship,
yeah, no, I know what
from
you mean.
the Slam win and whatever else just before that, Michael Smith was picking off performances that his opponent was losing, like Dimitri Vandenberg did tonight, with ease. It was right, move over, out the way, coming through, Eddie Hearn gif, whatever you want to produce, meme, whatever. Right? He has struggled to do that in the Premier League in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
The same
100%.
The same with the Euro Tour, despite only being 3 events old. But this was more, okay, I can produce my B game and still get through this.
This surprised me tonight, to be honest, from Dimmy, because we've seen he's been very consistent recently, and he might not have got as many wins as you probably think so, but he's played very well and consistently and played at a pace that is more suited to his game, and it didn't work for him tonight. And Bully, just like you say, he did what he needed to do. He turned up with his B game, but it was enough, and it was consistent enough in the scoring that he outscored him on tons, on 140s and 180s. Just did enough and outdoubled him. He was just quite comfortable, and probably at a point here where I need people to remind me in the chat of what I predicted last week, because I talked just constantly and I have no idea what I even predicted myself last week. But I'm pretty sure I predicted Smith to win this, and I just thought he might have a little bit too much, and it just seemed like I don't know whether it came a little bit, a bit too soon for Dimmy here, or whether it was obviously it's a bit closer to home and probably an atmosphere where he's expecting to probably have quite a few fans there, but it just never quite happened for him tonight.
As one of the biggest criticisers of Dimitri Vandenberg, I'm not sure criticisers is the word. Critics of Dimitri Vandenberg and his antics on the hockey and his pace of play and all those things that make him unwatchable. Is there a point right now within this Premier League where you're looking at him going, actually, if you went back to the Dimitri of the World Championships, for instance, where, look, he wasn't as watchable, would he have won more games so far this season?
No, completely disagree. I think he's won as many as he has this season so far, because in the Premier League, he has, I don't know if the right way of wording it, but he's played like a Premier League player in that he's played at a decent pace that I think is 100% his natural pace. I think I touched on this last week, but I think 100% the pace he's been playing at in the Premier League is the way that he would play if he was just practicing at home with Damon or with Jose or whoever back in Leicester. Like, if he just walks up the board, he'll just roll at a natural pace. And I think he's been better for it. And he's played really well most weeks. Tonight, maybe not so much. But I don't know, he got beat off Nathan last week, but the week before he was unbelievable as Nathan and beat him. I just think he's playing his natural game right now, and he's playing at a pace that works for him. And yeah, okay, maybe he's not putting off opponents, and against Michael Smith, not slowing him down might hurt you. But I also think generally 9 times out of 10 you'll see a better Dimitri Vandenberg, and rather than him winning a scrappy 80 average, you'll see Dimitri 100 and probably beat a player on merit rather than on slowing him down. And yeah, he didn't do tonight, but I think that's what we've seen for the most part in this Premier League, and I do think it's been better for him, and he's played a lot better because of it. And also, it's better for the tournament as well.
It's better for the tournament. It's more watchable for the fans. I guess my question is, does Dimitri suffer as big a drop-off when he plays slow as it would have an adverse effect on his opponent?
No.
And are we going to see that towards the back end? If it gets really, really tight towards the back end of this Premier League, it's absolutely no secret to us here at Online Darts and to pretty much everybody watching that actually, the Dimitri we're seeing in the Premier League right now is far more watchable. It's far more enjoyable. He's up at the hockey. There's a few smiles. It's a lot more free-flowing. However, if it gets down to the nitty-gritty, are we going to see the Dimitri from the World Championship and before last year where he takes the pace out of the game, he takes those bigger, deep breaths and settles himself in those big key moments, the settle yourself down and think yourself and all of those things that actually we think and as onlookers that perhaps aren't helping him, but actually as the results go on and as it gets deeper and deeper, do we think we're going to see the return of those?
Quite possibly. Only if it's tight. Like you say, if it's tight and he's within shouting distance of making that top four, if he's playing down the stretch, and I've not looked at the fixtures, so this is just coming off the top of my head here, but if he has Gezi and Michael Smith in the last couple of weeks, and realistically they're probably going to be two of the ones that are fighting for it, along with Nathan. I don't really think slowing it down against Nathan does anything for you. He's quite deliberate himself anyway. I don't really think that would work, but against Gezi and Michael Smith, I think it probably helps. I don't think it helps against MVG because he just takes his time. Once he's up at the hockey, he throws how he does anyway. But I do think we might see it. And like you say, I think you'll see less of a drop-off from him in a scrappy game, in a slow game, in a take-your-time game than you will of other players.
Yeah.
But I also think when he plays at this pace that he's playing at the moment, sometimes he's unbeatable. Like he's so good when he plays at a pace and like it's just natural. Like the way he hits the ball when he's just flowing and finishes out on the ball, it's as good as we see from anybody when he's flowing. And yeah, it's hard to maintain it, and he can't do it for 10, 11 straight legs. But when he's working, he's good enough to beat everyone in the game.
But is that the issue? The fact that these matches are best of 11 legs and he's not producing it for 11 legs long means that he's putting himself at a disadvantage in that attempt to search to be more watchable that the fans have been calling for so long?
Possibly. But, like I say, I do believe that's his natural game. And that's when he plays his best. And he's surely got to believe when he goes up on stage, if I go up and play my natural game against any of these lot, I can win games against these lot. And my best game, playing at my best pace, rather than slowing it down, and yes, maybe I might not drop off as much as they will, if he wants to be, and surely this is the same in every sport, especially in darts, if he's a top 16 player and you can't get to that level without having aspirations of being the best in the world and being the world number one and winning the world championship. If he wants to do that, I genuinely don't think he can do it by doing his slow it down nonsense. However, his best game, when he's playing at his best and he's playing naturally, surely he believes that that is good enough to win him major titles and world championships.
Well, so think about the early stages of slander of the year, definitely.
Yeah.
However,
but go and do it. Just go and do it like that, because he is good enough, and that's not even like it's not a stretch. Like to say that he, when he's playing at his best, can go and average 110, playing quickly and playing well. Just go and do it and beat everybody. Okay. And then there's no questions on it. There's no. Oh, it's because of this that he won. It's because of that he won. Just go and beat everyone because he is good enough, and surely he believes he's good enough to do that. And that's what is my question with his slowing it down: is it confidence? Is it that he doesn't believe he can beat these people unless he does his tactics and does a Mensa or does a whatever else? Like, surely he believes that he's good enough to do it.
Talking about the first game, we should probably move on.
It's definitely that. It's
It's
definitely
that.
We've not even talked about the game. We've not
talked about the game at all. However,
Michael
we do
Smith won 6-3.
definitely need to move on to a Nathan Aspinall 103 average in beating Chris Dobie. This is one of the best performances we've seen from Nathan Aspinall so far in the Premier League, in my opinion. The average is right up there. It's not really a scrap, but 50% on the outer ring from the Asp, 6 from 12. Look, Chris Dobie's 4 from 6. However, Aspinall forcing more opportunities at the double, taking them. This is not the sort of performance you associate with Nathan Aspinall, but one he's going to have to produce that little bit more in this second half of the Premier League if he's going to make that Final Four. Because we had a message earlier in one of our group chats saying, that's it, that's the Final Four for me done. MVG, Price, Aspinall and Smith.
Yeah,
I'm not convinced, given tonight's outcome, that is the case.
Yeah, I kind of get that. Yeah, was that Liam? Was it? I think it was Liam in the chat, wasn't it?
I wasn't going to call him out on it. Steady on, Cam. But yeah, it was Liam.
I'm not calling him out on it. I actually think he's right. So I'm not calling him out on it. I'm backing him up. I think he's actually spot on. Even
with tonight's result.
Yeah, because okay, we're getting ahead here. We're talking about the result before we've even talked about the rest of the game. But I don't think tonight's winner is consistent enough at the moment to make the top 4.
No, but he's been, and I've been big on him for the last few weeks. And actually, this is probably the one week where I faltered on him, and he's gone and delivered a win. But actually, the last few weeks, there have been signs that this performance is coming from Johnny Clayton. Yeah. He's going to return to the winner's circle. And if he keeps this level up, look, he is one of really, 3-4 men to win the league phase of the tournament in any form.
I get that.
And to win the tournament as well. Like, this man has pedigree in this tournament. And whilst the start of the season hasn't been brilliant for him, to pick up tonight's win is massive. So I don't think you can call the top 4 now in any way.
And it could change, but I do think that will be the top 4. But yeah, and I get what you're saying. Yeah, Johnny's won the league phase, which is huge. But Johnny won the league phase in a period where he was playing darts of the like that we've never seen from him before or since. He was in the best form of his life. He isn't at the moment. And yes, he's won tonight, but I still don't think we're seeing him anywhere near his best at the moment. And the reason I think that Nathan, after winning tonight with an unbelievable performance, I mean, Nathan's playing the darts of his life as well right now. Well, maybe not of his life, but consistency, week in, week out, and the averages, the scoring power is back to him at his best. 100%. And we're seeing him every single week pick up points. And that's how you make the top 4. It doesn't matter whether you win the league phase. It doesn't matter whether you get in on the last day with the last game or whether you get in on or whether you win every single week and win the league phase. Nobody cares. It's about being in the top 4. Winning the league phase means nothing. If you win the league phase and get beat in the semi-final, then what's the point? What difference is it to finishing 4th and losing? It makes no difference. Nathan is doing what he needs to do. Every single week he's picking up points, and that's how you make the top 4. You don't make the top 4 by winning a couple of weeks. You make the top 4 by being consistent.
We're at the halfway. Johnny Clayton was the master of picking up points every week in the last phase. 4 wins, 4 finals, 4 semi-finals, 4 quarterfinals. Yeah. He's now 3 points behind Nathan Aspinall and Michael Smith.
But Nathan is consistently.
Despite that big win from Aspinall against Chris Dobie tonight, he just couldn't back it up. We're going to have to move on, though. We're absolutely... We're doing our usual, Cam, and
we've still not talked about any darts yet.
We've not talked about any darts. We've got 4 more games to go, and then we've got to predict next week. You're a nightmare. This is the terrible combination, and it feels
like this is the thing again. You're blaming me for your waffling.
Ever again. On to the next match, which was Johnny Clayton against Michael Van Gerwen. Look, been promising big things for Johnny Clayton in the last weeks. As I've said previously, he finally gets a result against Michael Van Gerwen, albeit 8 points higher in the averages, and it goes to the last leg. And at one point, it looked like Michael was going to pinch this. the early phases were all Johnny Clayton. Van Gerwen fights all the way back to lead 5-4. Johnny wins the last 2 legs to get over the line. That's the battle in Johnny Clayton we've been missing in this Premier League.
Yeah, and surprising this one in that Johnny hit 4 180s in this match. Johnny Clayton is not a 180 hitter as a rule, generally. Plenty of 140s, and he out 140'd Van Gerwen as well in this. But then to also outdoing 4-1 on the 180s and still nearly lose this match, I'm not really sure how it happened, because he outdid him on every single metric in this game and still had to win the last 2 legs to win it. And I mean, fair play to him for going and doing it, but despite an 89 average, I'm not sure how Van Gerwen didn't win this game.
Yeah, I mean, look, all 3 scoring metrics, Johnny Clayton is ahead. He's 17 tons, 16 tons.
And the checkouts.
For Van Gerwen, 7 140s to 6, 4-1 in the 180s. He's absolutely massively ahead. Both players have the same amount of darts at double. Johnny Clayton 6 from 17, Van Gerwen 5 from 17. Statistically, there's absolutely no way on this earth that Johnny Clayton should have been anywhere near losing this match. However, such has been his campaign so far, he very nearly did the last leg. Very, very good from Johnny Clayton. Still left 166 at one point, as Johnny does, because the man still can't count as a professional. One of the worst performances we've seen from Van Gerwen in this Premier League phase so far. However, Johnny Clayton will not be complaining about that at all. And honestly, I'm not convinced by that top 3 are sewn up, whatever. Smith and Aspinall on the same amount of points. Clayton on 12 points. Dobie on 10. If Vandenberg doesn't pick up a win next week, I think we're getting close to ruling him as of contention for the top 4. And at this point, I'm virtually very, very close to ruling out Peter Wright after his 6-3 loss to Gerwyn Price tonight. 101 average from Gerwyn Price, 92 from Peter Wright. Look, not a massive deal wrong from Peter Wright tonight. When you run up against 101 average from arguably the best player in the world right now, Gerwyn Price is playing darts from a completely different planet at times at the moment. Won the last 2 weeks, absolutely flying. His Euro Tour averages are ridiculous. The only time he's dropped below 100 all season was to win last week's title. Admittedly, it is only week 3 this week. However, the manager produced ton plus for fun on the Euro Tour. 101 average again tonight, 6-3 win from Gerwyn Price. We are now starting to see the Gerwyn Price game of pretty much everywhere but the Premier League in the last couple of years in the Premier League. And that's exciting for darts fans, because whilst I disagree that we've sewn up the top 3 places, it'd be very, very hard judged to knock out Van Gerwen and Price from the final 4 the way they're both playing right now.
Oh, 100%. And this is bloody brilliant, isn't it? Like, I love seeing Gerwyn Price at the top of his game and just go. It's just like he's finally learned as well that if he's nice to the fans, they're nice to him. And when they're nice to him, he is a different animal. He is like just unshakable. And it's not even in the consistency of the performances and the averages. When it comes down to it, when it matters as well, he gets in them little tough moments where he's lost a few games, where he had the crowd against him and felt a little bit of pressure. It's like he doesn't have any pressure on his shoulders at all. And when those big moments come, he's just taking them out and he's just doing it. And Peter Wright literally might as well not have gone up there tonight. That's the level that Gerwyn Price is playing at right now. And even if Peter Wright had played well, which we probably saw him play a little bit better.
92 is steady, but it's not Premier League winning matches caliber from Peter.
That's what I mean. We probably saw him play better tonight than he's played in the last 3 or 4 weeks. And he still got beat.
Back to straight barrel. I feel like those stupid barrels you saw from another week were a case of just get it out of your system. Yeah. They were a case of just get it out of your system.
Yeah.
Right? The straight weren't working for him the way they were supposed to. The bombs are a case of, I've got to do something different, get it out of my system, go back to straight barrel darts. I feel like if he builds with these, he will be steady and consistent enough. Yeah. However, it's too late in the campaign to mount that charge. That charge, even with back-to-back wins and 10 points on the board. I'm still not convinced by Peter Wright heading to the back end of this season. Gerwyn Price looks solid. I'm not even sure what you said earlier is right, by the way. It's not even be nice to the crowd now, be nice to you. It's don't be a dick. Yeah. Don't give them a reason to hate you. Look, some crowds have jumped on your back from the start. The way that he's playing the crowds at the minute with shirts is absolutely genius from Gerwyn Price. He needed to do something to get
fans. It's spot on. I said this as well.
And you know what? Peter Wright did exactly the same tonight. So tonight it was sort of like two twins fighting for their parents' affection. Yeah. They first walked on the stage in exactly similar colours, going, "Who will love me more?" But at that point, it wasn't a case of who's hated, and that played into Gezzy's hands perfectly. And it's not even a case of make fans love you for Gerwyn Price in his Premier League campaign. It's don't give them a reason to hate you, and that will steadily build them back on side. And I think he's playing that perfectly with the likes of Rotterdam to come.
Yeah. So there's a couple of points there. Like, first of all, Peter Wright, I don't know whether you agree with me on this. The reason he stuck with the big bombs when they clearly weren't working for probably 3 weeks in a row in the Premier League and competition in between as well, I think that was fully down to the fact that he thought his throw was off.
Yeah.
And he thought, if I stick with the same dart, I need to get my throw back to where it is before I can start tinkering with darts again. Because if I tinker with darts when it's already all over the place, I'm going to be stuck. So he got to the point where he was like, my throw is that bad right now, which is a ridiculous phrase because he's still levels above us, even when it's really bad. But his throw was that bad at that point that he thought, at this point, I've got to stick with the same thing until I feel like I've got my throw back to a position, and then I can then switch back to a set of darts that I like. I don't know whether you think whether you agree with that, but that's where I felt he was at. And that's why he kept sticking with those that were that big. He couldn't get 3 in a treble, they were that big. Like, even when he threw them well. Second bit is obviously, like you say, on Gezzy. It's not that he's trying to like suck up to the crowd, but they have been backing him. He's having something that he's never really had in his career, that they're sticking with him and they're giving him support. And like you say, just the shirts, it's a really simple little thing, but he went to Cardiff, he wore a red one. And it's so much better than that awful old one he had with the fake muscles on the front. But now he's got one that he can just switch between the colours and still keep the same design, but switch between the colours. Like you say, like Peter Wright does, like other people do, just get the crowd on your side slightly and have the name of where you played on the back and the colours and just do it. And it's working for him, and they are supporting him. It's much more than we've ever seen. And we're seeing the results of it because, my word, that guy's playing well right now. Like, he's playing as well as we've ever seen him play.
When you look at his Eurostar averages, 100%. There's been your dip on the Pro Tour, but maintaining that form isn't easy. And this Premier League format is arguably the most difficult it's ever been, despite being the least watchable it's ever been. Apologies and thanks if you are still with us. However, let's hear from one of our losers tonight, Peter Wright. Look, as this season's gone on, we've got more and more content for you guys. So we do have a post-match reaction clip from Snakebite Peter Wright for you.
I suppose so. Obviously, having the time off has backfired. I thought if I have time off, keep fresh for the Premier League, keep fresh for the Europeans, I might be okay. But obviously, it's not working. So I don't know. Maybe I have to go back to the Pro Tour events to just maybe keep me sharp. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Premier League can be daunting as well when you're losing game after game. Do you think about that in the build-up to Thursdays? Because I remember...
Not at all.
No?
No, not at all. Other players would think about it. I presume I'll just turn up each week. It doesn't matter. I know I can beat any of these guys in any tournament if I... turn up. So it doesn't put a negative on my game at all. It's just it's the Premier League. It's not quite working, but as I say, next week at a turn, and then start winning and qualify, and everyone will go, where did he come from? Yeah, I'm losing every week, but it's one of them things. Somebody's got to lose, but it's the way you deal with it. If you deal with it fine, don't let it affect you. It's ruined many dark players' careers, the Premier League, and it's not going to ruin mine, because I know how to win, and I know how to win big majors and stuff like that, so I will turn it around.
Saying all the right things, love the optimism from Peter Wright. Whether or not I believe that right now is a completely different conversation to be had.
Yeah.
However, tonight probably isn't the time for it, given that the show is nearly 40 minutes long. We still have 3 games to discuss and predict next week. Semi-final number 1, a 6-4 victory for Michael Smith, 104 average for the Bully Boys, 6 from 16 on the outer ring. No ton plus checkouts, but 7 maximums for Michael Smith. This was the free-flowing, fast-paced, fun-loving Michael Smith that we have grown to love in the last 6 to 9 months, who has picked up titles, and he looked magnificent here.
It was bloody good, wasn't it? Like you say, no ton plus checkouts. Do you know why? Because he never bloody left one. Like, he was scoring that.
Was so good.
Yeah, he's scoring that well. He was always below 100 when he got to anywhere near the end. Like, this was really impressive, because Nathan played well again. Like, Nathan didn't get, he didn't fall off here and didn't give him a game. Nathan still played well and got nowhere near him, pretty much. And how he got 4 legs off him, I'm still not quite sure.
I'm trying not to make the show go on too long than it needs to, but I also need to ask this question. The Nathan we saw in round 1 would have won this round 2, but does he have that performance in him often enough when he needs to call on it?
I don't think he wouldn't. I don't think what he did in round 1 would have been good enough to win. Like, he's played, maybe he's not averaged quite as high in this game.
103, 50% on the outer ring, 6 from 12. It would have gone close to 104, 6 from 16 on the outer ring.
Maybe,
very
been close, but I'm not sure it would have been.
But the point is, we don't see that ton plus dominant performance from Nathan Aspinall enough. And when he needs to call on it, like 98 and 4 from 6 is nothing to be shrugged at. But
I mean, 99.
He's really been outscored in this phase. And as a man that strives off battling and picking off legs that Nathan seems to do, that I don't want to keep pinholing Nathan Aspinall into that one characteristic, but it is a huge part of his game. It's a bit like James Wade can't score.
Never goes away. Never goes away.
That 80 to 120 mark, James Wade is one of the best players in the world.
Yeah.
Nathan Aspinall is one of the best scrappers and battlers in the world. He has so much bustle, so much heart, so much belief in his own ability. But when it does tip over to the top level, like Michael Smith did tonight, I feel like he comes out second best far too often for a player that has aspirations left in this title.
No, I agree with you. I do agree with you on that. Like, he does get beat in a lot of these good games. And when it's the top level, he does tend to come out second best. And I don't dispute that one little bit. However, I don't really think he did anything wrong in this game. I don't think he dropped off massively. Like you say, he averaged 104 against Dimitri or whatever it was, 103 point something. He averaged 99 here, basically. And was 4 from 6 on double. He was 67% on his doubles. But Michael Smith played that well that he only got 6 starts at a double. So I don't really think he did a lot wrong. And I do agree with you. Yes, maybe in these moments, if he's going to win these big titles, he needs to produce the 105s and the 106s and do that. But I don't really think this is the game where you could level anything at him to say that he did anything wrong, really. I just thought he just got outplayed here by someone who was absolutely flying in this game.
He did indeed. On to the second semi-final. For the first time in what feels like forever, Johnny Clayton gets the better of Gerwyn Price. They've met early on in the last couple of rounds. However, 101 average from Johnny Clayton. It just felt like tonight he had that little bit more about him to complete the job.
Yeah, it was that little bit of that extra bit of aggression from Johnny. You know, when he's slightly off and the darts just don't go in with quite the same force, and he just sort of misses the treble high or low. They just seemed tonight like there's that extra bit where he went, I want this tonight and I need this tonight. And it's just that extra bit of force, and the darts were going through the flights and getting into the treble and scoring at level. Like, we don't often see Johnny score at 100 plus. Even when he wins games, he's a bit, like you say, a bit weirdy. Like we were talking about Nathan, where he gets through battles. Johnny's a bit the same. Like, you know for a fact, if he's got a finish between 57 and 90, you're probably not getting a shot at it. But getting down to that level, we don't see him score at the 100 plus generally. We'll see him hit plenty of 140s, but there'll be a few odd visits in between. Tonight, he just looked like he wanted it tonight, and there was just that extra bit of force. The darts weren't deflecting off; they were getting through. They weren't going into the one. They were staying straight and getting into the treble, and he was very impressive tonight. Because, I mean, I saw on the commentary at one point during this game, Mardo mentioned the fact that he went, I think Gezi was averaging 101 at that point, and he went, that's not a big average for Gezi, in his way that he says it, that Mardo gets excited and says, that's not a big average for Gerwyn. And he's probably right at the moment, because 101 is probably the lowest we've seen him average for the last 3 weeks. But he was still getting beat by Johnny, because Johnny was just scoring consistently, scoring at a good level, and then taking out the finishes when they came.
It was indeed. Matthew says the ferret finger point was back, and what a glorious sight it is. There was just that little bit more conviction in the way that Johnny played tonight. But like I said, I felt like the scoring power from Johnny Clayton was much, much better. And a lot of that was despite the fact that actually of the top 32, maybe even deeper in the world rankings, I believe Johnny Clayton understands the way his darts lie on the board less than anybody else. He used that an awful lot more tonight. It was in that bottom of the bed of the treble, and it was floating over the top constantly. And that suits Johnny Clayton down to an absolute T. And that boarding, 6 more attempts at a double, he made the most of 2 of those, and he booked his spot in the final, where he took on Michael Smith. The first week in about 5 where I haven't backed Johnny Clayton to lift the title. And despite being 6 points lower in the averages than Michael Smith, he does take that title. 6 from 11 on the outer ring, 54% from Johnny Clayton. The man's back in love with double 16, isn't he?
I mean, Johnny, double 16 and the camera point are the love triangle that we all just want to see. Like, it's like the greatest TV show in the world, isn't it? It's just like you say, the 140s, bottom of the bed, sitting on top. It's Taylor-esque, except it's thrown completely differently. Like,
because neither can count either, by the way.
Well, that as well. Or neither care about counting is probably the right thing, rather than that they can't. I think they can, but they just go, nah, I'll just do my thing. But they're thrown so differently. But as soon as Taylor puts one on the bottom wire, you think, well, this is a 180. And when Johnny does it, it's the same. But they're thrown so differently in the fact that Taylor just floats them and sits them on top, whereas Johnny powers them on top, but somehow they still sit on top. I'm not sure how it even works. It's like it defies physics the way Johnny throws them, because he throws them so hard, but somehow they still sit on top. But yeah, I mean, Michael Smith scored very, very well in this game, but Johnny just out doubled him in the final. Michael Smith absolutely did him on every single metric of scoring, and wasn't awful on the outer ring himself, to be fair. It was still 31%, I think, in the end. But Johnny was somewhere near 60%, and it was a complete thing of hitting the right shots at the right time. And timing's everything. You can average whatever you want.
Campaign last year, right shots, right moments, and we haven't seen that from him so far. But this could be the moment that catapults him back in contention for that top 4, just 3 points behind third and fourth. We're going to have to hear from Johnny Clayton now in his post-match press conference. We'll see what he had to say after that, and then we're going to look ahead to next week and hopefully wrap this show up in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, great feeling. Like you said, difference in 2 weeks, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? But then again, if I want to make that final 4, I've got to put everything I got into it. Tonight's a good start. 3 points on the board. Up to 5th, I think. You know, there's a long way to go, but it's the start I wanted. You know, to win here tonight, absolutely fantastic. And I got a smile on my face, so look out.
Did you feel coming in tonight it was almost last chance saloon, the way the points were racking up and the way the top 4 were kind of getting away?
Yeah, 100%. I think so. You know, I think the top 2 are safe. To be honest, I think Mike and Gezi is safe. Everybody else are chasing the next 2 spots. You know, so listen, it's up to us to do the job. I've started good for the second half, and hopefully we can carry on.
I like that. Realistic from Clayton. It's not, no, everybody's catchable. It's, look, we're fighting for 2. If anything else happens from there, it's a bonus. But I like that very much from
it was a lot more positive, wasn't it? It's not what we've seen from the last 2 weeks, which I was really concerned about, because Johnny's generally, even when he loses, he's quite a positive guy. It's like, I was nearly going to do an awful worse accident there. I'm not going to do that. But he was, he's generally like, it's like, no problem, come back next week and I'll just give it my best and win again. And the last 2 weeks, the interviews we've seen from him, he's been really despondent and really down about his game.
In his defence, we have interviewed him after losing more than anybody else in this Premier League.
Oh, I know. I get that.
Which is the first time thing for all of these players.
Yeah, even so, though, like, we've never seen him that despondent ever. Like, he's generally quite a positive guy and just gets on with his game. But he seemed like he was gutted. And I mean, we all know I love Michael Smith. And generally, in a final, I'd have wanted to win. But tonight, I really wanted Johnny to win. And it was good to see it. And it's good to see him back positive and back thinking, I'm still in this and I'm still fighting here and I'm still going. Because I felt like that was kind of falling out of him a little bit in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and it does just make that final 4 race that little bit more interesting. The table for you guys, before we move on to predict next week. Van Gerwen sits number 1, 25 points. Gerwyn Price, 20 points, is in number 2. Michael Smith and Nathan Aspinall both have 15 points. However, Michael Smith is on +1 leg difference. Nathan Aspinall is miles behind in that regard, on -12. Johnny Clayton, 3 points outside of the top 4, now up to 12 points. Chris Dobie, despite winning week number 1 and making a final not too long ago, 10 points for him. Dimitri Vandenberg on 9 points. And Peter Wright has been cut adrift so far, back on 2 points, winning just 1 match so far this campaign. Let's then look ahead to next week as we go to Birmingham, home of Jarvis.
No, don't do accents.
What's wrong with that one?
It's awful.
So's the way they speak, but
oh my God. Jesus Christ.
As we head to the Utility Arena in Birmingham for week number
What's it called
10.
now?
Utilita.
Oh,
Them dodgy ones that rip off Eon for energy. Next.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What happened to the NEC? Like, can we not just call it the NEC again?
I hope they haven't seen this, so I'm probably going to dump the slander. Right, let's look ahead to the matches. Matthew also says, what do we make of the trophy from tonight, by the way? HJV also said...
Oh, it's mint. Really good. So
it's unique, isn't it? It's different.
Well, apparently that's a big thing in Berlin. There's bears everywhere. I went to Berlin, I was like, I didn't see a single bear. And
you are 3 foot tall, though, and they are quite big.
Yeah, well, surely I would see more of them, if anything. They'd be everywhere.
People's backsides in a crowd.
Well, no, for the most part. I saw a lot of things in Berlin that we're not going to get into out here. Oh, we've gone down a road here. Jesus. No, right. Quick,
Cameron, your prediction next week for match number 1, Michael Van Gerwen against Chris Dobie.
Where are we next week?
Birmingham.
Chris
And none
Dobie
of these
wins.
are from
Chris
Birmingham.
Dobie wins 6-5.
Who?
Chris Dobie wins 6-5.
Oh, wow. Chat room, get involved as well. You know what time it is. We'll flash some of your predictions up on screen for you. We'll read them out as well. For those of you that are listening back on your favourite podcast provider, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts, i.e. Matthew saying MVG 6-3. I'm going Van Gerwen. Early upset tonight. Doesn't play that bad again, surely.
I just don't think he's playing very well at the moment.
No, me neither, but I still keep writing Chris Dobie off, and I'm convinced it's going to pay off at some point in this Premier League. So I'm going Van Gerwen. I'm going to say 6-4.
Clock's right twice a day, isn't it?
Correct. HJV says 6-3 MVG. Bob says 6-4 MVG. He's followed me a little bit there. 3 predictions, all for MVG, but Cam's gone for Dobie.
To be fair, last week I had a few agreeing with me. So it's due to come back round where no one agrees with me.
Match number 2, big scrap this. Nathan Aspinall against Johnny Clayton. Look, we're still 6 weeks away from Judgment Night or the final night of the league campaign, but this is massive given 4th and 5th in the table. How do you see this one going?
6-4, Nathan. I will not ever pick against my boy in a battle.
Your boy.
My boy, Nathan. 6-4.
Does he know he is your boy?
Probably not. Do you think he watches us? Probably not, to be fair, but I've called him my boy for a long time on this show now.
Poor bloke. I'm going Johnny. I think this week will give them the confidence. Look, they're staying in Germany right now for the Euro Tour. I'd be very, very surprised if they attempted to come back to the UK next week. Oh, they've got it for Birmingham. This is the stupid part. This is the stupid part of the season. I get mixed up by where they're staying in Germany and where they're not. However, look, Johnny was majestic tonight, and I'm going to give him the props to go on and get through this first round next week. I'm going Clayton 6-3. HJV says 6-5. Bob says the same. However, Matthew has gone 6-4 to Johnny Clayton. Match number 3. Dimitri Vandenberg against Gerwyn Price.
There's just only one winner here. Like, Gezzy's playing far too well, and I think he wins 6-2. I actually think this is quite comfortable.
Interesting. I back your winner. I think Gerwyn Price is arguably one of the most informed men in the sport now.
No, he is the most. He's not arguably. He is the most informed man in the sport right now.
There's a couple. Look, we see more of him from the Premier League. You look at the likes of Ross Smith, Dirk van Dijven.
Oh, yeah. If we're talking about but I mean,
as the wider sport, Ross Smith, Dirk van Dijven are certainly in that conversation.
Yeah.
However,
on the big stage, though,
Gerwyn Price looks absolutely brilliant right now, and I'd be a fool to back against him right now. I'm going to say he's a little bit less comfortable. I'm going to say 6-3 in this one. Bob's got Gezzy 6-4. Tommy's got Price 6-2. Matthew Price 6-2. HJV's got Price 6-3. Shane's got Gez 6-0.
Wow. Love that, Shane. Love that.
Go hard or go home.
Yeah, just own it and go for it. I like it.
And in the final match of the night, a battle between the last 2 PDC World Champions, Peter Wright against Michael Smith.
Yeah, I'm close to Shane's prediction here, but I'm going to give Peter Wright 1 leg. I'm going to say 6-1. I don't think he can get anywhere near Michael Smith right now. As much as I want to see him get competitive and get back in, we want to see all 8 players battling for those top 4 spots. But I do not think at the moment that Peter Wright is anywhere near, and I think Michael Smith is so far ahead of him. He seems to be a little bit healthier. I know he's had a couple of issues. He's not felt well for a few weeks, but he seems sort of back to his best, and I don't think Peter Wright at the moment can get anywhere near that.
It's not that I don't think he get anywhere near that. I'm just not sure it's consistent enough for enough legs to produce that
Yeah.
against Michael Smith. Look, there's still an element of Michael Smith that is taking this Premier League campaign a little bit too easily for me. Look, there are massive things to take into consideration when you are world champion. When you've been and done what Michael Smith has done, especially with that 9-dart leg against Van Gerwen in the final that Mardle called the way he did, there is a massively high demand to see Michael Smith.
The old Valentine's Day card that was spread between all of our team in the chat almost.
But there's a massive demand when you become world champion to see you in action via exhibitions. It is when you've done it in such a manner that was so iconic. Michael Smith is incredibly in demand right now. It would not surprise me if he's playing darts in public 5-6 days a week, given his travelling schedule as well. So I'm going to say it's a lot closer than that. However, I'm still not convinced by Peter Wright until he turns up and produces 100 average for the night. And I'm just not sure he's got that in him right now. He is searching for something. The Premier League is not the happiest format for Peter Wright in the last few years. I think he's made the finals twice in 10 attempts. And I'm not convinced he gets there this time either. But I'm going to go Michael Smith 6-3. Like, he's not a million miles away, but he's not Premier League level right now. If the Peter Wright we're seeing at a minute rocked up to the Pro Tour, you could see him making a last 16 a quarterfinal, maybe beyond that. But he's not at that level right now to compete with the other 7 in this Premier League.
I think that's almost what he needs, isn't it? The way he's playing at the moment is the consistency of games that you play on the Pro Tour. Like, if he gets through 1 and gets through 2 and gets through 3, just without playing particularly his best, and maybe not playing the best players, but keeps picking up wins, we might see that trickle down into the Premier League. But at the moment, he's not getting wins anywhere, and it's not breeding success.
Is he playing the Euro Tour this weekend? He wasn't on the draw, was he?
You've dropped me a question there that I have no idea of the answer to. I'm not prepared for that.
If he is, which I believe he is, I'm sure he is. Only travelling with a certain number of sets of darts might be the best thing for him here. Having taken a few away, stayed in Germany tonight ahead of the Euro Tour this weekend, getting consistent with the darts he used tonight, which look very, very similar to the darts he used last week. We might start seeing that build up from Peter Wright ahead of next week. And look, things may change. That a week is an awfully long time in darts.
Well, I know everyone looked at the darts last week and we thought, is he using Van Gerwen's darts against him? But they weren't. They were basically without the diamond coating.
The elements without the diamond grip.
Yeah. But we all know they're the best darts he throws, and everyone knows that. And even he knows that, I think. But it's this endless search for perfection that he's after, rather than being a very, very, very good dart player with a set of darts that suits him, which was good enough to win him 2 world titles.
If only. If absolutely only. A few predictions from that last game, by the way, because we did miss them. We went with Smith 6-4 from Tommy, Smith 6-4 from Matthew, Smith 6-2 from HJV, Smith 6-2 from Bob. Shane says yes, Smith 6-1, agree, Cam. Questions about what
Shane's a very smart man, it seems.
Will Peter stick with the gold darts? Why doesn't he? I think he just gets bored and goes searching for that.
He's searching for perfection, which doesn't exist in sport. There is no such thing. And I respect it. And for him, I think it does work for him. And as much as we've given him a lot of abuse, I was going to say something else. So I'm trying to be PC for once. But as much as we've given him abuse and we'll sit here and say, why doesn't he just stick with the straight barrel that works for him? That's the darts that win the world titles. For him, if he does that, I actually genuinely believe now it wouldn't work, because he would get bored. He wouldn't throw as well, because he just loses focus, and that's why he keeps switching. But But at some point, you've got to realise that at least one style of darts is the right set of darts to stick with.
Which I think straight darts are.
Yeah.
Before we go, one name to win next week from your 4 quarterfinals, semi-finals.
I think finally Nathan Aspinall wins a week.
Interesting.
Because he's been consistent. He keeps picking up points without winning. I just think he gets through Van Gerwen and then he beats Gezi in the final.
I think we have an all-Welsh final. I think Gezi gets revenge on Johnny Clayton next week, the way that I'm going.
I could see it.
Tommy says Price to win. HTV says yes, plays win on what? Just to see. I think that's in regard to Peter Wright. A massive thank you to everybody that has tuned in tonight for a show that has lasted just over an hour. Apologies if you haven't actually heard a lot about the darts, but that is what myself and Cam tend to do. A huge thank you to everybody that has tuned in once again. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit us a like on this video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any time we go live. The Modus Super Series is currently live over on the Modus Super Series YouTube channel. If you want more darts tonight, head over there to catch up, including the recent World Seniors Champion of Champions, Leonard Gates. Lisa Ashton also in action as well. That returns tomorrow afternoon, by the way, at a new time. No more 9 a.m. starts on Thursday or Friday. That is an afternoon start now. Much better for the players to be able to play themselves into some form, but almost a bumper double session, a small gap in between both of those on Thursday and Friday, with the earliest start on the Saturday as well, making it much more viewable to you guys at home. We are, well, not we, but Phil Bars is actually in Germany right now. He's the reason we had 2 post-match press conference interviews. He is heading to the Euro Tour this weekend, so expect plenty more from us on our YouTube channel this weekend throughout the European Tour. The Live Lounge returns on Monday night with myself, Lee Boyce, Phil Bars, and a special guest as ever as our new feature heading into this week. We've had a conversation about a couple of potentials so far. Hopefully we'll be able to bring you another knockout as we had Devon last week. On behalf of myself, Cam McFarlane, and everybody here at the Online Darts team, a massive thank you to everybody who's tuned into that, and we'll catch you all this time next week for the Fallout Bar after week number 10 in Birmingham.